At New School, if anybody was in the New School class. And they kind of asked me a question about what was the difference between like today and the 90s, and what was my kind of impetus of doing this film. And I had to think back of what it was like in the 90s, and one of the things I wanted to change was that if back then it was all about the guys, so it was like, especially for African American films, it was about boys in the hood, hanging with the homeboys, New Jack City, and I wanted to see something that came from a woman's perspective that was different. And I remember also at that time, I think it was the hearings for Justice Clarence Thomas, and I remember seeing his co-worker Anita Hill on one side, and I saw all the senators, and they were all male on the other side. And I think that kind of gave me something in me to say, I wanted to see something from a woman's perspective, that a woman was speaking for herself. And I also wanted to break the fourth wall, and it was important for me for the whole film to see a woman who had faults, who wasn't all good or bad. She was both. And I wanted to see a woman's voice. So for the whole movie, I tried to take a woman's point of view in terms of the music, in terms of female rappers. It was important to me to hear a woman's voice. So that was kind of the start, and it was a labor of love for everyone who was in the film, the actors, because we did it independently. Because we hadn't seen anything like that, I was writing it in my, quit my job, and I started writing my 9 to 5, and I started temping so I could just answer phones and write the screenplay. And I started writing the screenplay, and through that, and then I was working at a nonprofit organization at night, and I was taking the subway back and forth, and I actually started to write the screenplay on the subway. I would see young people, and I would see some of the older people looking at them or going to the other side of the car, and I said, well, what would happen if you followed this young woman home, and you would see that she's not just another girl on the IRT. And that, so it all started with that screenplay. We started to shoot a little bit, and I got grants and started a production company, and it was all from my little apartment in Fort Greene.
And let's talk about the subway a little bit, since this is in our Retro Metro series. What was subway culture like in the 90s, and BK culture, and can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I think that there were no Metro cards. That's the first thing that was really different. A little more graffiti, I think, which gave it a little more character. I guess the subway culture was just, I felt it was a lot of energy back then, and I wanted to kind of project that energy. I remember there were a lot of, I was mentioning female rappers around, and they were doing a lot of inner city urban music, TLC, Yo-Yo, MC Lyte. So a lot of the music inspired me, and I think that there was like an urban culture, and I think that kind of carried through to Subway.
And speaking of this urban culture, Chantel's style is so amazing and kind of seems back on trend now. What do you think about this resurgence of this sort of 90s hip-hop culture and aesthetic that's back in Brooklyn?
It was interesting because Ariane was terrific in the film, and she was phenomenal. And a lot of because we did it independently, a lot of the clothes are hers. And I wanted to, and also I actually chose her, my producer and I chose her because we thought that she embodied the spirit. Because I had seen a lot of films that were kind of, at that time, kind of doom and gloom, and I wanted to see a film that had a little more color, even in terms of the cinematography and the soundtrack too. This is my life and it's just all right, and that you can live in an urban culture and you still can have fun. And I wanted to show that aspect of it. I love movies, so that was very important for me in terms of stylistic. I actually love like foreign movies. My brothers, I'm the youngest sister, and my older brothers loved foreign movies, which is kind of crazy because I grew up, in an urban environment, but they loved foreign movies. So I would go and see Kurosawa and Fellini when I was younger, and I think I kind of, when breaking the fourth wall and her talking to the camera came a lot from that influence of studying, and then I went up and studied cinema. So that was very important to me too.